Now let's bring in Tony Gosling, historian and investigative journalist, joining us from Bristol. Mr. Gosling, as always, I appreciate you coming. With Spain now cancelling a multi-million-dollar arms deal with an Israeli company, how significant do you see this move? Do you think it can be a trend of growing international isolation and boycott for Israel?
Well, it's good to see Spanish lawmakers doing their job. I mean, after all, this is all about international law. If you think about the war crimes that the Israelis have been committing, the genocide, you would hope that if there was such a thing as the rule of law in the world, that every avenue would have been shut down to Israel through legal means. But isn't it interesting, in Spain, the Spanish legal department of the Spanish government actually supported buying arms from Israel, presumably support selling arms to Israel for this genocide. So, that's what the legal profession were up to over in Spain. But it's taken this left-wing party, a genuine left-wing party, the Sumar coalition, and Yolanda Diaz, Deputy Prime Minister, to cancel this deal. So she's actually overridden and gone against her own government's lawyers in saying, no, we refuse to buy arms from the Israelis. Which is, it shows you really that there is this elite around the Western world, which doesn't just include the parliamentarians who are in charge in governments. It also includes the civil servants, the civil service. So there's the permanent government in these countries around the world, and particularly in Europe and the United States, that are actually complicit in supporting war crimes. So just imagine every legal department in the Western world, in every government, is complicit with war crimes. That means that those individuals, if they were genuine lawyers, would recognize and speak out and say, we cannot support this because it implicates us in the war crimes. So if we do continue to supply arms or receive arms, give money to Israel, that is a crime in itself. So the lawyers, none of them are actually doing their job. And it's interesting that it's taken a left-wing politician, a left-wing party in Spain, to overturn this ruling.
Exactly. Mr. Gosling, you mentioned the role of Spain's Sumar party and pushing through this cancellation. What does that tell us about how grassroots and coalition pressure can affect the foreign policy against Israel?
Well, yes, it is, I suppose, grassroots. Imagine, say, for example, in Britain, if Jeremy Corbyn had been elected, he may not have made it to be Prime Minister, but he would have been in a particularly strong position as an opposition leader in Britain to be making all these points. So what we have is a different system here, which shuts out all of the grassroots, basically shuts out the views of the population. So it's a fascistic system, it's anti-democratic, because both of the main parties really here in Britain support the Israelis, whereas the vast majority of the population here, unlike in Israel, but the vast majority of population in Britain are vehemently anti-Israeli and see what's going on as war crimes. I mean, remember, Israel relies quite a lot on its own arms industry to make revenue. Everybody knows about the famous Uzi machine guns, submachine guns that are manufactured still and used by the IDF to kill innocent people over in the West Bank, in Gaza, and the occupied territories. So these companies, of course, that are delivering the weapons for war crimes should, of course, be boycotted around the world. And I would like to see more lawyers speak out, as some have. The International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice, some of them, of course, have been intimidated and bullied, as have judges, by the Israelis. So this is what happens. If you start to speak out, you get bullied. And I think we need to understand that the Israelis are, through these sorts of methods we've been talking about, actually destroying the legal departments, destroying democracy itself all around the Western world. And in fact, in any country where you might find the population, the voters, the political parties supporting the Palestinians, you will find a very active cells of Israeli sympathizers in that country. Some of them are joint citizens with that country and Israel in pursuing these war crimes. And that's what they call, in many cases, they call Sayanim. That is to say, people who are almost like sleeper cells supporting the Israeli genocide from within the superstructure in the Western world. And I think that's one thing that's slowly coming to light through incidents like this in Spain, where someone has managed to push through, the left wing have managed to push through this propaganda and this control in these nations, this anti-democratic control. And it shows you just how dangerous the Israelis and this genocide is to Western democracy itself, never mind to the Palestinians.
Thank you so much for your insight. That was Tony Gosling, historian and investigative journalist, joining us from Bristol.
Thank you.